On this episode of Just Informed Talk, more hypocrisy from the Washington Post as we read their headlines and compare them to ones that haven't aged well. And also, we're going to look at an incredible story. Q tells us about this plan that was in place before President Trump got there. And you guys are going to want to stick around to hear the details on that. Hi, I'm Craig. And welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always start by saying thank you to all my subscribers. If you guys haven't hit that button, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified when these videos get posted. So, today we're going to pick up right here, 2639. We left off out of our last video at 2638. If you guys want to get caught up, I always encourage you guys to come back here, watch these last videos, and make sure that you share them on your social media. And if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? I encourage you to come here and watch this video. It explains in great detail what QAnon and the Great Awakening basically is, how to find the information, how to do the research, and all that great other stuff. If you guys want that information, I encourage you to come back here and watch this video. So, with that being said, let's pick up where we left off. And of course, we don't have much yet today. I'm not sure if we're going to get any more, but it's a lot. Let's put it that way. So first of all, this is where we're going to pick up. It's Q giving us this picture, right? And it's the Washington Post, this article written by Max Boot, two articles written by Max Boot. And the first article says, and this was written 2 days ago, says, Trump's surprise Syria pullout is a giant Christmas gift to our enemies. All right, Max, you have that opinion. That's all right. Let's see how your previous opinions have measured up here comparatively. So the next thing is an article written by, oh, you guessed it, Max Boot from April 19th, a few months ago, where he states, Trump can't do anything right. We don't need troops in Syria. Fascinating. Fascinating how these two headlines seem to completely contradict one another, yet somehow they were manufactured by the same organization and the same journalist, columnist, I should say. And it's the hypocrisy is out of this world when it comes to the things they say. They'll do anything to go against President Trump. President Trump stays in Syria. We can't do anything right. President Trump leaves Syria. It's a Christmas gift to our enemies. Make up your mind. You can't have it both ways. And Q tells us to look at this and say, Q says, why do people trust the fake news media? Anons can play this game all day long. Compare and contrast. Fake, 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 Q. So, listen. I'm just going to lay it out because it's plain and clear. These two articles, right, in complete contradiction of one another, manufactured by the same media outlet, by the same columnist, serve one purpose. They're not, it's an opinion. It's obviously an opinion. It's marked, labeled in the opinion column section. And maybe there's a difference between the articles that we're not seeing, where a global opinion is different than a regular opinion at the Washington Post. But the reality is you see the hypocrisy. It's staring you right in your face. And that's just something Q obviously points out for a good reason, because it's kind of ridiculous, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, I know, right? So the next Q post is actually quite fascinating. It starts, of course, with another cheerful and happy tweet from the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, saying, actions have consequences, and whether we're in Syria or not, the people who want to harm us are there and at war. Isolationism is weakness. Empowering ISIS is dangerous. Playing into Russia and Iran's hands is foolish. This president is putting our national security at grave risk. How original, coming from Mrs. Clinton here, Secretary Clinton, I should say. The reality is, it's projection. This is just another example of projection. You know, they tell you basically that you're doing to this country what they've done for the past 8 years, and before that, going into other presidencies. And so to me, it's kind of like, all right, putting everything aside, this is obviously an attempt to undermine the president at every turn. She'll use every chance she can turn any decision the president makes as commander in chief into an opportunity for a political jab at him. And it's obvious that they're feeling the pressure. It's that's where all this is coming from. I think they know that these investigations aren't going. Hillary is very aware of what's happening behind the scenes, I'm sure. And I think that her only course of action is to, as Q pointed out in the last post, is to try, and her and the Democrats together have to sway the American people into disbelieving that these actual investigations with actual fact finding and actual sealed indictments that exist, that all of that is just, it's a opportunity for President Trump to go after his political enemies, right? So any way that she can make herself seem as adversarial to the president as is humanly possible on a political level, that will give her that much more fodder for the cannons when she has to go, if indictments are unsealed and if she is brought under another investigation openly and possibly even charges brought. She can turn around and say, don't you guys see what's happening? President Trump's targeting his political enemies or opponents, and we're turning into a third world country, some tin pot dictatorship, right? But that's wrong. That's wrong. But that's going to be their last play. That's when all the cards are out on the table and everybody's looking at this. That's going to be the last string that they're going to try to tug on to say, look, you cannot come after us because we are being politically targeted here. But it has nothing to do with what we actually did when we were in power and the alleged corruption and the alleged, just complete dereliction of duty at the least, right? So, look, that's what this is. That's how I read it. And I don't put much stock into her tweets, but, don't forget, guys, I always point this out to people. Over 40 million people in this country voted for this woman to become the next president of this country. So this is not a game. When she says these things, there are millions and millions and millions of people out there who are hearing this and assuming an adversarial stance against the president, who is in charge of our actual country, whether you like it or not. Now, you can politically disagree with him, but it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, and it's leading to something. And that's what Q's pointing us to here, right? So the next one, I'm going to read Q's post here. It's talking about Hussein ISIS JV team, right? That was former President Obama, Hussein, saying former President Obama saying that ISIS was a JV team. That's what his words were. Yet in his whole presidency, where ISIS started basically when he left Iraq and pulled out, and then it grew to be this huge caliphate under his watch. And in 2 years, President Trump has limited them down to 1% of their territorial acquisitions that they had left, and a very small percentage of fighters left. Why was President Trump able to do it and Barack Obama not? President Obama not? It says, did Hussein take care of business or allow them to expand? How long did it take POTUS to eradicate and destroy ISIS? The American people are waking up to the truth. And then it gives this article from a website that's called the Investor's Business Daily. And I'm just going to briefly go through this article because it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. But what it talks about is the way that basically Obama's military coup, right? This is what the article is. It's an editorial. That's what they say. It purged 197 officers in 5 years. So what does that mean? The article just basically goes on to say that President Obama had this overarching theme to his military that he was running under his administration. And that was basically getting rid of any officers who provided a dissenting opinion. Now, I'm not saying that a commander-in-chief doesn't have the right to promote, demote, do whatever to any of our people in the armed forces. That's why he's the commander-in-chief. But this says there was basically almost no historical precedent for what had happened with President Obama and the way he went about it. And it talks about how basically Obama went through, and over the 5 years, there was at least 197 officers that were relieved of duty by President Obama for a laundry list of reasons, right? And sometimes no reason given, right? So the stated grounds ranged from leaving blast doors on nukes open, to loss of confidence and command ability, to mishandling of funds, to inappropriate relationships, to gambling with counterfeit chips, to inappropriate behavior, to low morale in troops, so on, right? Now, this to me, as the article points out going forward, says there was actually something more behind the decision to basically purge the military of people who had held any dissent to what was going on. Now, think of the way that the rules of engagement were restructured under President Obama, where if you're a guy, and this is just one example I want to give you. If you're a guy or girl, whoever, out in Iraq or out in Syria, Afghanistan, or wherever, and there was say a person who you knew was an enemy combatant, right? And you had identified them, you knew who they were. Instead of being able to engage them in what would be considered open warfare, you would have to go through a chain of command. And the rules of engagement basically stated in certain situations, they had to call and get consent from the White House and White House lawyers, right? And to me, it was basically, that is just one example of many of ways that President Obama was tying the hands of our armed forces and our military men and women who were out trying to protect us and trying to basically effectively win the war on, extremism out there and what we were fighting, right? After 9/11. And that to me is what is unfortunate. And this article just goes on to say that there is a whole set of reasons why Obama decided to do this. One person here, retired U.S. Army Major General Paul Vallely, an outspoken critic of the Obama administration, noted that basically Obama will not purge a civilian or political appointee because they have bought into Obama's ideology, Vallely said. It says the White House protects their own. That's why they stalled on the investigation into Fast and Furious, Benghazi, Obamacare. He's intentionally weakening and gutting our military, Pentagon, and reducing us as a superpower, and anyone in the ranks who disagrees or speaks out is being purged, unquote. That's a direct quote from this retired U.S. Army Major General, who wasn't obviously a critic of Obama, but that lays everything out. Everything else, I'll leave a link to this article, and you guys should read through it because it is actually quite fascinating. But that's what Q wants us to look at, is what's happened here. And we're going to talk about something even crazier, the 16-year plan that was going to take effect if Hillary Clinton had won, because 8 years had already been implemented of this plan through Obama and his presidency. And if they had gotten the next 8 years with Hillary, then we could have very well seen this plan unfold. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But it says, why did Hussein attempt to destroy our military weekend? What was the 16-year plan to destroy America? Why did Hussein install traitors at the highest levels of our government? Think DOJ, think FBI, think CIA, think national security. Why did Hussein bring people into the White House who hate America and what we stand for? What years did HRC serve as Secretary of State? What years did ISIS expand? Why did Hussein put restrictions on U.S. military command regarding ability to attack targets at will? White House direct approval required for each action? Facts, not fiction. Blind sheep follow, eyes on target, Q. And I couldn't agree more with everything that Q's laying out here, because this was happening. I mean, I've seen several documentaries about these conflicts in other countries, especially like Afghanistan, where you have our soldiers, our young men and women out there on the front line, and they're trying to basically effectively do their job, and they're having their hands tied, and it's the most frustrating thing. And not to mention all of the different ways that this has basically weakened our country. Now, we're breaking this down kind of, Hussein, or President Obama, he obviously underestimated what ISIS was. There's been insinuations that ISIS was formed on his watch through his own carelessness, right? Through pulling out of Iraq in an irresponsible way and leaving this small contingent relatively speaking, of Iraqi soldiers to watch all this equipment that then fell into other people's hands. And it says, how long did it take POTUS to eradicate and destroy it? It took President Trump 2 years, right? And it's gone almost. But it says, what was the 16-year plan to destroy America? Now, this is a one I'll never forget. This is one I very much remember from January 21st, almost a year ago, of 2018. And again, this is talking about everything that's happening, the memo that we were waiting for coming out, but talks about what the 16-year plan was. So first you have to understand, they never thought she would lose. The plan started with Hussein, his first 8 years. Now, what did they do? They installed rogue ops in different facets of the government. They leaked classified military assets, or intelligence and military assets. They cut funding to the military. They took command away from the generals and put it directly up at the top into Obama and his direct apparatus there. It says, launch good guy takedown, internal remove. Valerie Jarrett was a sniffer, so they basically, people who were acting in what they thought their best interest was, and the best interest of the American people, they would, if they disagreed with what Obama and his administration thought it was, they'd sniff them out and they would basically get them removed, right? The special access program sell-off. Now, this all goes back to what was on those servers with Hillary Clinton. Who had access to those servers? What classified information was misplaced, right? And possibly taken by the Chinese and other countries. Maybe not by so much accident. Snowden, open source, PRISM, Keyscore, catastrophic to U.S. military and bad actors worldwide, plus clowns and minus no such agency. So this is what they did. Everybody, we've talked about this before, a popular theory that Q's basically, I would say almost confirmed to this point, is that Snowden was a black hat. Snowden was working with the CIA. He went from the CIA, he was put on a mission to go infiltrate the NSA and to expose all that information. They open sourced PRISM and Keyscore, which were like Google, but for everything, like your voicemails, your text messages, everything you've ever done online, every email you've ever sent online, this is all being collected in metadata. And these programs were able to query these databases at basically as easy as you can Google anything you want to find out in the world, right? And that technology was leaked, and that blinded the NSA, who were watching certain players, right? Certain people. And they knew they were watching them, so they did their best to basically blind them. That way the clowns could go out into the world and do deals with North Korea and do deals off the record with all these other countries. And this is what was happening. And it was also, they were looking to weaken the conservative base with the IRS. You guys know what happened with Lois Lerner and that whole scandal with the Tea Party and taxes, and the mainstream media, who is basically undermining and demoralizing and misreporting things on a regular basis, and it to the point where it's demoralizing and it becomes a tactic of weakening the conservative base. Then you have the open border Democrats who believe that we should have this influx of immigration and not just legal immigration, but we should be taking in more illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, and basically not even focusing on protecting our own border. And then you have the rise of ISIS and MS-13, right? Where did they come from, and how are they've quelled back now? They've caught a lot of them have been locked up and or in battle. But where did that come from? It was fear and targeting removal, domestic assets, etc. Now, the speculative theory online has been discussing that obviously, is it possible that MS-13 were put to jobs for certain individuals? I don't know, but I can tell you this right now, that they were definitely and still are a very dangerous gang in this country, and that I don't think anybody would dispute. I don't know how you could. The blind eye to North Korea, they basically turned a blind eye to North Korea and let them do whatever they want with their nuclear program. Classified 1, 2, and 3. The blind eye to Iran, funding and supplying them, giving billions of dollars to them and basically allowing them to continue to expand. That was not a good idea, but it was President Obama's idea. A blind eye to classified 23 through 41. So Not sure what that's referring to, other than probably some pretty gnarly classified stuff. And then it says stage Supreme Court. You have Antonin Scalia, who lost his life. We don't have any proof yet to say that he had been actually murdered, but that is what has been insinuated here on the boards. Uranium One was funding and supplying Iran and North Korea, and it reduced the U.S. capacity and how much raw natural uranium we would have access to. Wow. They killed NASA, so they shut down funding for NASA to prevent space domination and allow bad actors to take down military satellites and worldwide secure comms install and weapons of mass destruction. And the risk of EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which could shut down our whole power grid, that came from space. We were helpless. And that's why all these things, like you see President Trump going out and establishing the Space Force, and the speech that was given a couple days ago by Mike Pence, Vice President Pence at NASA, talking about how this is the new headquarters for our Space Force and all that stuff. So that's why that's important. And you can see all that, how all that, connects. But then the next 8 years, if Hillary Clinton had been elected, according to Q, this is his 16-year plan that he said would happen. And we saw a lot of these things. Now we're starting to see, especially as new information is made available every day, a lot of these things possibly were happening behind the scenes. And then it's HRC's next one, World War III is what it says here. And it says death and weapons real, war fake and controlled, population growth control, pocket billions, right? So, I mean, it's the ultimate globalist agenda is not just controlling everything, but then dealing with issues like population growth and controlling that, and then dealing with things like opposition and all that stuff. So, but then it talks about pocketing billions. Yes, they would have made billions off it. It says eliminate final rogue ops within government military. So there would have been like this final purge through the military of all the real patriots who were left over, trying to fight against what they see as or would have perceived as very bad action taken by our officials, right? They were trying to basically destroy the economy, and that's the whole starve, need, enslave. It's the idea that if you take away people's ability to earn money and to take care of themselves, you make them wards of the state, then they basically become your property. You control what they do, because if you're in the government and they depend on the government, then you're in control of what their lives are, right? And it says open borders, revised constitution, ban sale of firearms, Second Amendment removal. Yeah, guys, that would have been on the agenda, I'm sure. Install on-team Supreme Court justices. That's what we talked about. The whole theory that floats around out there about what happened on the tarmac, Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton. Was there an offering for her to become a Supreme Court justice? That vacancy was there going into the election, and it needed to be filled. Legal wins across spectrum of challengers. So basically, without with the majority in the Supreme Court, they would be able to basically win every ruling they want, and they could get things made into law that, I mean, that would be the best example you can imagine of judicial legislating, which is very, very much frowned upon, and it's not a widely accepted practice here in our country. You're not supposed to use the judiciary as a way to legislate. The legislators are supposed to legislate. The judiciary is supposed to oversee that legislation and make rulings as to its constitutionality, right? So that in and of itself would have been an incredible loss for the American people. But it says removal of the Electoral College. Of course they would remove the Electoral College, because why wouldn't they, right? Removing the Electoral College, they won the popular vote because it's just lopsided the way these population densities in different areas work out, especially ones with, on the coastal sections and all that stuff. So they wouldn't need that inconvenient Electoral College that actually allows, us to, have fair, equitable voting for the whole country as a whole. Nope. We would have to change that. And it's talking about easier manipulation, illegal votes, Soros machines, of course. It says limit, remove funding of military. They were already working on that under Obama, defunding the military. And then the closure of U.S. military installations worldwide. They would have started in Germany, obviously, because then they would allow the EU to become this monolith new country or whatever. one step closer to globalism, right? And it says destruction of opposing MSM, other news outlets, censoring classified 1 through 59. I mean, that is something that I can't imagine if we didn't have President Trump in office. I can't imagine what YouTube and other places, Google, how bad it would be if Hillary Clinton had won at this point. Like, we would be getting banned and kicked off, and nobody would be standing up for us. And it's even happening to a degree today. But at least we know that what we're doing is a worthwhile cause. And like I say, I come here to share with you the truth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and the truth as I know it. And that's it. I'm not perfect, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm here asking questions with you guys, and that's what they're most afraid of, right? That's what they're most afraid of. And that's everything that we went through here. The DOJ, look at, the whole from the top down, from Loretta Lynch down. Look at the FBI, from James Comey down. I'm talking about on the Obama administration. CIA, from John Brennan down. National Security, the DNI, from James Clapper down. This is why did Hussein bring people in the White House who hate America? And what we stand for, I don't know. I don't know if they do, but I can tell you that some of their actions would suggest that they are not a fan of some of our institutions, in my opinion, but that's just me. I'm one person. This is what years did HRC serve as Secretary of State? It was 2009, 2013, I believe, and that was like exactly when, or I think it was 2013 when ISIS was expanding. You guys will help me out down in the comments. Sorry, I'm a little shaky on that, but I know that that's when she served. And it's saying, why did Hussein put restrictions on U.S. military command regarding ability to attack targets at will? And that's what we talked about. There's some of these guys on the battlefield who are trying to defend, not just us, and our freedoms, but also the people who live in these countries who were struggling, who were being victimized by these radical individuals who were living in their country fighting this radical extremist war, right? So they were trying to help them and protect us at the same time, and they were having their hands tied because it would seem, according to my own personal opinion, that the powers that be were not really working as hard as they could have to stop the expansion of that conflict. But that's just hindsight, I guess, is always 2020. But look, this is what we have to look at today, and this is what Q's bringing to us because it's important to discuss this. We have to get it out there, and this is all, a lot of it, I can tell you, is based on fact, not fiction, and but I can't guarantee everything. But I can tell you, look, from my experience, my research, years of doing this, this is all like on target. Like what Q is saying is very, very close to what we all should be looking at and going with a very skeptical eye and saying, look, why was this all allowed to happen? Why did this occur? It says blind sheep follow, eyes on target, Q. So guys, just stay aware. Remember that this is an incredible battle between good and evil, right and wrong, and we're just going to have to keep working hard on our end to do our best to be kind, to be questioning, to be skeptical, to be everything that is what makes us truly unique from other countries. We're not just a population of people who don't ask questions and blindly follow. We ask questions, and if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but this is not your country to run or my country to run. It's our country to work together to live in and make better, right? And people who are living in other countries, you're doing the same with your fellow citizens to affect change in your country, right? And it's peaceful, and it's all non-violent as far as I'm concerned, but we are asking the questions, and they're tough questions, and that tends to scare people. And I'm sorry that is the way it is, but that's the way it is. So I'm going to leave it there. Stick around for 1 second. I got a few more things to announce. Obviously, if you guys want to help out the channel, come here, click the big red subscribe button. That helps out big time. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. My subscriber count's been going all weird today. When I started this video, I had I had 158,901, and as soon as I refreshed the browser, all of a sudden I was back down to 740. And I saw the same discrepancy on other websites that keep track of these subscriber counts, where I had 200 more subscribers, and then I hit refresh and I've lost 200 subscribers suddenly. So maybe 200 people just walked away. But at the same time, these numbers jumping around just makes me really uneasy about the way that everything's run, especially when it comes to this. But hey, what am I going to do, right? I'm not really in a position to do much other than to point it out. And that is just something I wanted to talk about. And if you guys want to help out the channel, watch these videos, catch up on what we've been discussing, and make sure you watch this one if you don't know what QAnon is. Also, make sure that you leave your thoughts, theories, and insights. I want to hear what you guys have to think, and like this video. Punch that like button, please, for me. They say if you use like words like hit and punch, people will do it more. So you guys prove me right? Go hit that subscribe button, or I mean a like button when you guys are done watching this. But that's surely a way you can help out. Another way you can help out is to come over here and find me on Patreon, the crowdfunding website, which actually is one of the best ways to help out this channel. Is you come here to Patreon, patreon.com, search JustInformed Talk. When you come to this page, click this button, become a patron. It's a monthly donation. Give as little as you want or as much as you want, but it helps out the channel big time. And also, I would like to point out that I'm going to start as part of my Christmas gift to you guys. I'm going to start posting other content on Patreon. It's not going to be the Q videos. Like I said before, I'm working on the video right now. The first one I'm going to post, which is Pastor Mark Burns giving an impassioned speech before introducing Roger Stone to come talk at the American Priority Conference. But that's just one example of many that I'm going to share on this video. It's just like little inside stuff that, not quite going to make the channel yet, but it's just good content, and I'll share it on the channel eventually. But yeah, that's just something cool. Plus, I'm going to try to contribute pictures and stories and that kind of stuff. So that's cool, and I thought you guys would enjoy that. Also, if you guys, so obviously, like I was saying here, just come sign up and become a patron, and then you'll get some like behind the scenes, I guess, stuff. But it's not going to be there's no paywall. It's just other stuff that's not really Q related, about me, the channel, what I'm doing, that stuff. So also, if you guys want to help out and you don't want to do the monthly thing, I totally understand. I set up a GoFundMe. It's gofundme.com/just-informed. Click this button to donate. You can make a one-time donation. You can make it anonymously, and that helps out the channel big time. I'll leave links in the description. Also, another way to help out is to just come over here and check out JustInformedNews.com. It's JustInformedNews.com, Just Informed Talk's official website. Lots of great links to different QAnon stuff, to different web news websites that are a good starting point to find good information. And then you have, of course, headlines and that kind of stuff. So come check that out as well. Plus, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Justin_formed. All you gotta do is come here, click the follow button. It helps out the channel big time. All my videos get posted here too, so automatically. So it's a great resource for you guys if the notifications aren't working or whatever, because who knows with YouTube sometimes. Anyway, now we're gonna get to the best part of the video, which is God's grace and how it is greater. This is a segment we do at the end of every video where we discuss God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for this one, I want to share this verse. It's out of Romans chapter 11, verses 33 through 36, and it's a hymn of praise to our Lord. But I want to, there's a little moral out of this that I want to share, or just a little lesson that I think what I took away when I read it that I want to share with you guys. But it says, "Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and the knowledge of God! How unsearchable his judgments and untraceable his ways! For who has known the mind of the Lord? Or who has been his counselor? Or who has ever first given to him and has to be repaid? For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen." And that, to me, it speaks volumes of how we should look at God in our own lives, right? Putting that unconditional, unwavering faith in God every day is what will separate us from the evil that exists in this world, that will help us give us strength. It will help us become better and stronger. And that's what God wants us to understand. God has infinite wisdom. His judgments are fair and his ways are true. None of us know the Lord's mind. None of us have been the counselor to the Lord. None of us have given to the Lord only to be repaid. No. For For from him and through him and to him are all things. Remember that. That's what it's all about. And to him be the glory forever. So that's the message I want to share with you guys, that everything that we have, everything that we have in this world, we must thank God for it. And live our lives in a thankful way, following his practices and his teachings, and remembering that my prayer I use is, God, please help me to become your most humble servant so that I may serve the world. And that includes my family and friends and loved ones and you guys out there and everyone. Because that's all I ask God. I say, give me that strength to be that man for you that the world deserves. And that's my prayer for all of you guys. I pray God makes you his most humble servants, and that he makes you the men or women that you need to be for him, so that you may be the men or women that this world truly does need. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now's a great time. Thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.